Welcome back to the second episode and the continuation of my AI conversation with Bert Monroy. In the first episode, we talk about the implication of AI, how this is really going to change multiple industries and where AI may not change certain industries in some way. In this episode, we're going to talk about if Bert thinks AI is going to change the way how he does his painting, the way how he does his creative work. So let's find out together what he thinks about this. This is ArtIsRight. Before we start, subscribe if you're new and hit on the bell icon so you'll be notified every time I upload cool new videos like this. So with all these that you do, these photorealistic genre painting, do you see AI playing a role in any of these creations that you're making in the future, or is it right now still in the early phases? As you mentioned, some of the things are blurry, you still need to do a lot more work, or you plan to use those? Because many of these things that you're doing, the first thing that I saw the demo for the AI Firefly and Adobe generative AI is that, ooh, some of these are just like literally what Bert spent hours doing.
Yeah.
And it's just like, how do you think this is going to change or affect you, or not at all? Or are you just going to still do the same thing you do, or use it to enhance what you do?
Me personally, it's not going to affect me at all. When I was, I can say now that I'm kind of glad I retired from commercial work because of that. But let me tell you a quick story on that. That's something that I never forgotten. This is many, many years ago. I was doing this class. It was a 5-day class. And there was a young girl in it, and I gave them all an assignment, okay? And they were working on it. So this girl was having a hard time, I could tell. And I could see that what she was doing was just not really that good. So I said to her, why are you taking this class? She said, well, my company sent me here. They wanted me to learn Photoshop. I said, really, why? And she says, well, because, I said, what do you do there? She says, I'm a clerk. And I'm an assistant to do things around the office. I said, so why did they send you to learn Photoshop? They said, because they want to get rid of the art department and I will do the work. So right there's that thing that just because if she knew Photoshop, she'd be able to replace the art director. So there's a misconception right there. Now, for me, it's not going to affect me because I'm a traditional artist. I was a traditional painter before the computer, and I like that whole hand movement, and I like to be able to go in there and create something. I don't want to say, computer, do this. I want to do it. So me, it's a personal pleasure. If I was in commercial art, yes, it would probably affect me because there are deadlines and all that kind of stuff that I mentioned before. So in those particular cases, yes, it would help. It would help my what I do. As far as my paintings are concerned, no, I'll never use the AI because what I'm doing is purely from my head and my hand. It's what I can create. What I want to do is be the creator of the scene. I don't want the computer to do it, okay? The computer is my tool, it's my medium. It's not the end result. It's not going to do the job for me. I'm going to do the job. It's simply my tool, okay? Which is what I used to stress to the galleries. The computer isn't doing the work. It is a medium. It's my tool. I'm the one that's doing the work, right? And as far as the rest of my life, it's going to be that way. I'm going to be painting traditionally. The tools get stronger, powerful. Layer styles came out, layers came out, all these things. It made it much better. AI, for me, no, because AI is going to do the creating, and that's not what I want. I want to create it myself. I want to use the tools. I don't want to take a paintbrush and put it there and have it start painting. No, I want to be able to feel it and create that light the way I want it. I've created the light source. I know how it's going to work. If I don't know how it's going to work, I will make little models for myself to see how something works. AI is going to do based on all this stuff that it's learned and so on. So for me, it's not going to help me. I don't need an assistant. I'm the artist. I'm doing it. Commercial art, yeah, there's going to be a lot of help there to make things easier. But making things easier also means less money, because I remember when Photoshop, you could do the retouching. You did that in a few minutes. I'm not going to pay for that. I'm not going to pay for those changes. And by the way, here's another change.
Right.
So that's. That's a consideration that when the tools are easier and the machine is doing a lot of the work, clients aren't going to want to pay that much.
Right.
They're going to want. So that's another downside, is that you might not lose your job, but you're probably not going to get as much as you used to.
Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah.
That's very interesting. Because one of the things too that in our conversation earlier that I was telling Bert about is that I photograph a lot of weddings and events, and I still do architecture shoots and everything. But the main thing that I just actually photographed an event just right before I came up here to have a conversation with you, to drive up to North California. And one of the things I was thinking about is that, yeah, AI will affect different industry in the creation part very differently. For instance, I think more of like the graphic designs are going to be the immediate group that gets affected the very first. But as a photographer, there are certain parts, for example, having to go out there and photograph an event, capture everything. You're not going to go into AI right now and say, generate an entire wedding with me and my wife, or with this client and that client, like, and use this and generate other family members. Those are still going to be family heirloom. It's just the post part of it that I think AI may enhance those, like, you know, being able to edit, being able to cull faster, matching color better. But I just really think it's interesting because, like, I've played with Firefly beta, which again, it's really largely depend on the prompt. And I now come to a creative block because I'm not usually, I would say, like, I'm not as creative as you are, not anywhere close. And for me to think like creatively is hard when I have to design something. But also what I found difficult about Firefly is, as you said, the prompt engineers coming up with the prompt to get what what some of my colleagues have produced. Like, how are you getting that? What word are you using to put into the AI tool to get that? That's the other thing that's now, like, now we're just not learning about the creation part, but we're now learning about the words that we have to use, the key phrases. And that also changes the way how you think about creation in a very large way as well. It's just like you're no longer learning the tools, you're just learning how to tell the computer to do the thing that you want and hopefully get what you want in the back end. Yeah,
I put two kids, one 8 and one 12, to a brother and a sister, my grandniece and nephew. And I put them in front of the computer, and I gave them a blank screen. And the little boy says, prehistoric forest. He just put it it created a prehistoric forest. Then they started putting dinosaurs in it and all kinds of stuff. It didn't take really, very articulate the description and stuff. No, they were using very simple words and were getting interesting results. And they were laughing hysterically. They were having a ball. And I thought this is better than sitting there playing stupid video games. Yeah. I always think that it's better to be creating something rather than killing something, So, to watch them do that, it just shows how simple it is and how invigorating it is for somebody who isn't creative to be able to just do these things by adding a couple of little words. But you have to get really descriptive if you're going to start doing something that has a very specific function and so on. You can't just say, put in a dinosaur. You're going to have to say, I want a green one, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. So those prompts, it's that prompt engineer is a whole new profession that's going to grow. But what you're prompting has to have a purpose. It has to have a direction. And that's where, that creative flair is going to have to come in to get it. Now, photography, stock photography has taken a lot of work away from a lot of photographers. Yeah. Stock photography, there's a lot of stuff. I've seen a lot of photographers who now, because I got hundreds of photographer friends, and a lot of them don't photograph anymore commercially. They just sell their stuff for stock. Okay, there's good money in that. But the art, the creating of something from scratch, that's a whole nother story. So it's going to require some major changes in the way we work and the way people think of things. And I think in time, just like what happened with desktop publishing, I think in time it's going to settle down so that people who are professionals and know what they're doing are going to use AI to do their work easier and better. And it's not going to wipe them out. It's not going to take all the artists away. But it will ease their work a lot more.
It is very interesting to hear Bert answer to this question because it doesn't really change what he does by that much at all. But he also outlined the areas where this generative AI is really going to make a drastic change, particularly in the commercial world where you need to turn around things really fast. However, the type of work that he's doing right now is really just purely for his enjoyment. And it's really just great to see that sometimes going back to the discipline is always something that we should inspire to. I'll leave a link to Bert's website, and it's also his YouTube channel with many of his tutorials that he have done over the years in the description. I highly recommend that you check that out. Make sure you give this video a like, subscribe, and hit on the bell, because there is one more discussion that I'm going to have with Bert about AI before we wrap this whole conversation up. And remember, in art we trust.